Millions of cell phone users are suffering in silence with 5G syndrome, shaking and twisting and having fits. You've seen the Twitchers everywhere. And we're going to be focusing on world leaders, CEOs in this broadcast. They're all twitching with the same syndrome. And if even these people are being affected, especially these people being affected, given that they're surrounded by the world's best technology, that means that many people should be concerned about what's going on out there, to say the least. We've compiled a ton of footage. You've heard by now Larry Page has stepped down from Google. Ladies and gentlemen, people are expecting the worst. We've seen this guy basically devolve over the years, unfortunately. And this is just a sad side effect of technology. It's like the movie Johnny Mnemonic. You know, they called it years ago, and it's inevitable because the science tells you that EMF, radio waves, and the like cause damage to the nervous system more than just the brain cancers that you hear about, ladies and gentlemen. Another victim of 5G syndrome, to say the least. And we have many others. Many people have seen the Elon Musk Neuralink presentation, and this guy was just twitching everywhere. And it seemed really odd, to say the least. And we'll be covering the original videos as well as these videos that are slowed down. You can almost see it better when it's in full speed. But just to begin with, we wanted to discuss these notable figures. Of course, you had the Democratic candidate, Amy whatever, from Minnesota, and she was twitching during the whole debate. Everybody remembers John McCain, another victim of 5G syndrome, or, you know, other derivatives thereof. EMF poisoning, EMF radiation was well documented as radiation for decades before telephones went mobile. But they would always talk about radiation exposure from EMF in the documents that preceded these death towers that are surrounding us. And of course, insurance companies have refused to cover EMF damage, if you will, in any of their insurance contracts since the 90s. They know what's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and it's about time that you figure out what's going on. Here, Ray Kurzweil, another Google notable, famous for many reasons, and a very interesting scientist, to say the least. Another victim of 5G syndrome, of EMF poisoning. And this guy, unfortunately, has some of the most advanced symptoms that we've seen, simply because this guy would have been so close to all of this cutting edge technology. There's no escaping EMF syndrome. In the big cities, you're getting hit with it big time, and we're seeing the mayor of Chicago basically devolve before our very eyes rapidly, to say the least, as well. She looks very unwell. Anybody that saw that press conference where she fired the police chief, very interesting story, to say the least. We covered that in yesterday's broadcast. Be sure to check that out in the video archives. And today we noticed that at the UN summit, there's a few people twitching out there as well. And perhaps this is one of the reasons why the French want to ban some of these tech companies and push back against this beast system. Now, everybody remembers the Freedom Fries when they didn't want to march into war in Iraq and murder, innocent people that had nothing to do with 9/11. Now it seems like we're going to be banning, French champagne once again, ladies and gentlemen. And, we've had the opportunity to take the EMF 390 out there to Paris to test it out. And I'm pretty sure we got some footage of that. Meet your replacement, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to do things so much better than you will. It's just a matter of time, to say the least. But we've got some of the footage with the EMF 390. And it's just off the hook. The readings out there were up to 40 milliwatts, 100 milliwatts. In some places, you're just constantly being bathed. No escape. And it's like that in every big city. It's like that at your schools. It's like that at home. It's like that with your cell phone. And so, millions of people are shaking and twitching, suffering silently, thinking that, something is wrong, but they don't want to do anything about it. And it's better that people know. I mean, these cell phones, these routers, these death towers, they're going to make you twitch. And not only are they going to make you twitch, ladies and gentlemen, they're going to take you out because it's part of the eugenics program. And, we've talked about this over and over again. And it's not your imagination. They want to ban your free speech. They want to censor you off the internet while they spray you, because silence is consent.
I largely agree with that answer. I just have to say, though, I came into a position where the European Union was making anywhere from 100 to 150 billion dollars a year in deficits to the United States. They were making it, we were losing it, and so we had to do something that is fair. Not severe, I think fair. We're losing tremendous amounts of money. As you know, the European Union is very strong on barriers. Barriers meaning certain of our products can't come in, including agricultural product. It just can't come in. We can't sell it, and yet the European Union sells openly to the United States.
So this is a pretty interesting remark. We're losing $140 billion every year because we're buying more from them than they're buying from us, and they don't want our GMOs. They don't want our Frankenfood, and so he's talking about how we're losing $140 billion because they don't want the poisons that we're eating. Our food is banned in most countries because it's part of the eugenics programs. They don't want it. Everybody knows it, and so he's out there. Well, look, we're gonna raise taxes on you because you want to break up or tax big tech. That's just basically ruining everybody's lives, from Facebook to Monsanto. It's just, turning the world upside down. And there needs to be people that step up against these mega corporations. You wish that this president would do as much, given that conservatives have been censored and banned off the internet. And it's really ironic. They're like, he's out there complaining about how they don't want our, Frankenfood. And then he's complaining because they're trying to stop these, mega death companies like Google and Facebook from spreading their disease. So you just really have to wonder, what side of the fence is that guy on? And I'll tell you what, he's made 5G a national priority. There's going to be a death tower on every street corner, ladies and gentlemen. And that's certainly, problematic for you and me, for the regular people out there. And all of these RoboCops, Terminators, drones and the like, they're all going to be using the 5G backbone to get from one place to another, to receive commands so that they can, target you and the like. So this is just all bad news. People should be going to their city council. They should be, stopping the rollout of this, of these death towers. And you should get a meter. Whatever meter you decide to get out there, get one so you know what you're getting dosed with. It'll change your life. And that way you can show people and go, look, you're getting zapped right here. There's that death tower right, that they put right across the street. And it's zapping you. 1 milliwatt per meter squared is considered extreme. That's 1,000 microwatts, according to the Bioinitiative report. So everybody should be up in arms because, you're seeing these cancer clusters, you're seeing leukemia skyrocket in children, 35%. Pediatric leukemia up 35%, ladies and gentlemen. They're building these things like right next to your schools. This isn't, by accident. This is, part of the program, the Agenda 21. We can't stress that enough. Everybody should get aware. We promote the EMF 390 because for 109, it just blows away the competition. You can spend $200-$300 on a meter easy. This one does the job, and it's got some real nice functions, graphs and the like that the others don't. And it makes it just, much more fun, to say the least. You can see the waveforms. You can, do all sorts of fox hunting with it. Whether it be for low jacks, hidden cameras, anything that emits a signal from 0 to 10 gigahertz. It's got a wide bandwidth, much larger than the competition. And it's real interesting to go from place to place just to see what people are getting dosed with. And while the numbers are high in Europe, especially in some of these bigger cities like Berlin or Paris or the like, London, but it's even worse in America. And we've been able to compare feedback from people in different countries, and it's much worse in America. People should be concerned. It's as bad as the food, as well as everything else. It's not a laughing matter. Other countries have taken steps. Some countries are banning it outright, ladies and gentlemen. We've got some real shocking video. I think it's going to be a little controversial as far as what people think of it, but we're going to play it, and you can tell us what you think.
Well, they did. They tried to buy ours, and the Obama administration said you can't have them. Well, they did, and they tried to buy ours, and the Obama administration said you can't have them.
Pay attention to the feeling that gives you, and pay attention to his eyes as this occurs. Do you see that? His eyes change colors. This was on the... This video was, published everywhere, and it's just kind of like buried in it. You see it for a split second. We noticed quite a bit of activity like this. We could play it for, quite some time, and we might leave it for a different broadcast, but this is some of the metaphysics. I think we do have to play some other components of that. That's some scary shit. If you're just joining us, millions of people are suffering in silence due to 5G syndrome. Shaking and twitching. You've seen them everywhere. You've seen people shaking and twitching, especially when they're on their phones. This is not normal. And we're seeing, CEOs, world leaders twitch due to 5G syndrome. It's like the movie Johnny Mnemonic. Like and share out there. Get this information everywhere, to say the least. People should know what they're getting dosed with. We've got much more interesting footage to share with you, to say the least. We want to perhaps play a little bit more of the experience here during the NATO summit. And it almost looks like, pay attention to his hair here. It almost looks like, there's like a demon literally just like nested, in there. Maybe it's just me, ladies and gentlemen. We're just sharing this out there. It might be phenomenal, but this is stranger than fiction news, to say the least. Do you see what I see? It almost looks like a red demon with the horns just kind of like pulsating and just like nesting there, And that's Washington, D.C. for you. The White House sits at the tip of a pentagram. All sorts of witches and the like coming in. You never know, what they're feeding this guy, what they're giving him to drink. A little adrenochrome, he doesn't even know it. All of a sudden, it's a downward spiral towards the dark side. Did they replace him with a clone? Many questions that we need answers to. Do clones have souls, ladies and gentlemen? Do test tube babies have souls? That is the question. Is this some freaky stuff? We just thought that we had to mention that as we're discussing the 5G syndrome. There's more to it than that. This is part of the beast system, and this is all about dooming people to hell, ladies and gentlemen. And if you look at people today just glued to their phones, glued to the computers, living this synthetic virtual life, in isolation, being emotionally traumatized by what's coming on their screen, it's it's bad news. And companies like Google, they send all of their money to PO Box 666, Bermuda Triangle. And you've got things like 666 Fifth Avenue that are running pretty close to this administration, as well as the Epstein case. I think there's plenty of reason to be curious about what might be going on. We want to play some of these notable characters in regular speed so that you can see what we're talking about. 5G syndrome, it starts like this and progresses, and many people will probably associate this with some sort of neurological degenerative disorder, but this is how it begins. And we feel that a lot of the diseases that people are getting these days are associated with one eugenics program or another. We feel like there's a strong association between MS and the vaccines, as well as autism. And if you look at the inserts, it tells you that it basically causes myelinitis, which is an infection of the myelin sheath, which wraps around the neuron. It's like the insulator, and that's exactly what degrades in MS. I think there's a lot to be looking at when it comes to electromagnetic fields in our modern society and the impact on human health, because we're seeing quite a bit of evidence of the exposure. And here you saw another episode of The Shakes, and these people have got like 2 cell phones. They're in an office with a router. They're working downtown next to the Death Towers. They're getting the full dose, right? They're getting what you don't want to be getting. And when you see Elon Musk jumping around, he's got the best gadgets. He's got the AI in the brain, wants to jack you into the Matrix. And this guy's twitching, and he's just dancing all over the place. And they've all got this syndrome, and you see millions of people out there like that. And when you see it affect world leaders as well as CEOs of major tech companies, there's plenty of reason to be concerned, as well as the other evidence, the huge rise in pediatric cancers, as well as a huge rise in cancer clusters around these death towers. And much of it goes underreported. And some of the other side effects of this radiation is immune suppression, which makes you susceptible to every other infection, toxin, disease known to man.
Well, they did, and they tried to buy ours, and the Obama administration said you can't have them.
So there you go. Tell us what you think in the comments about the possibility that this president somehow has gotten under demonic control. This is the dark matrix. This is the hallmarks of the dark matrix, ladies and gentlemen. And if you pay attention, you'll see this in real life. You'll see every once in a while people's eyes flash red just like that. And these people must be from a different planet. Something must be going on. That's certainly not standard operating procedure. That's not expected behavior. And look, it's here a second, gone the next, just like that. And this was an excellent opportunity to share that with you. And it makes us feel that we should be expecting the worst when it comes to this administration, and regardless of the rhetoric, nothing is as it seems out there. It's not about Republicans or Democrats. It's not about conservative or progressive. It's about good versus evil. It's about the pages of the Bible playing out before your very eyes. We're fighting against demons. We're fighting against the devil itself. It's an organized crime syndicate, and people are just looking in the wrong places when it comes to fighting what's wrong with the world today. It's changed quite a bit since the 1950s. We've gone from happy days, leave it to Beaver, to where we are today, and that's thanks to this beast system. People need to wake up, push back, and 5G is at the core of that, and it's going to be the backbone for the automation, for the RoboCops, for the Soylent Green that's coming, like the movie Soylent Green. And it won't be long before everybody's out of work and they're just feeding us people. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.